Hey there, everyone. This is the Melvin Live Show, and what can we learn from dolphins? Well, it turns out it's quite a lot. Just before we get into that, I just want to share with you that this is a Melvin Live Show, and in this show itself, we talk about a few things. We talk about strategy, we talked about mindset, and talked about how to become a better version of you. So, in today's show, what I like to share with you about is this story that I read from the book by Gregory Bateson. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Gregory Bateson, he is an anthropologist, an all-round, Renaissance man in today's context itself. So the story in the book was really interesting. Bateson was out there studying the behaviors of dolphins' communication. So what he wanted to find out was that, is there a certain pattern in which dolphins communicate with their trainers? So he was studying this group of trainers who was training dolphins to perform for a paying audience. And so on day one, what happened was that, the dolphin would do certain tricks. And one specific behavior that the dolphin does, the dolphin will get a treat, a reward, a fish, right? And every time the dolphin continues to do that, the dolphin would continue to get a reward for every time for that behavior that he does, right? And then we transit to day two. Day two, when the dolphin came out for the show, the dolphin would do the same trick as what it did yesterday. However, this time around, the dolphin would not get any treat at all. And so the dolphin would try over and over again, and to no avail, no fish, nothing. And then finally, the dolphin decided to do something new. And when the dolphin does something new, this time, he gets rewarded with a fish. And then whenever the dolphin does this new behavior over and over again during the show, the dolphin will continue to get a treat. Now, and then on day three, when the dolphin came up and the dolphin start doing this dolphin start doing the behavior that it did yesterday, he would notice that he doesn't get a treat, and so he would need to do a new behavior in order to get a treat. So over time, what the dolphin learned was that in order to get a treat, the fish, the reward, the dolphin would have to come up with some new tricks. And every time the dolphin does this new trick, the dolphin will get a reward. And I found that to be extremely interesting because it teaches us about learning. And this is the way, from the book about NLP, this is the way that we think about learning. So let's talk about a goal that you have, right? So for the dolphin is the fish. Let's talk about the goal that you have. And let's say you go through a series of trial and error, and rarely do you get it right the first time, right? Unless it's a fairly easy task or you're really, really lucky. Otherwise, it's quite common that you wouldn't get it at the first try. And so the first time you do it, you're probably not going to you're not going to achieve the goal. However, after many trials, you probably achieve your outcome. And so what do? Every time you want that outcome, you will probably go back to the same set of behaviors. Every time I do this, I get that. Every time I do this, I get that. And then later on, when you do the same thing again, but it's not getting you the outcome, the reward that you want. So what do? You try to do something else. And then when you do something else, you get rewarded. When you do something else, you get rewarded. And then you keep doing the same thing, you keep getting rewarded. And then at some point in time, this thing stops working. So to put this into a context about how we do things and what we see about social media, you can think about it this way. Initially when people first started, they would do a series of things. For example, they will run a Facebook ad going to a landing page and then to an opt-in. Right? And every time that they do that, they will get a ton of people subscribing to their newsletter. So they keep doing it because every time they do it, they get the same outcome. But over time, as more and more people find out about this strategy or this process itself, this strategy becomes not as effective as before. And so, then people will do a few different things. Instead of sending people to a landing page with just text, they probably send them to a landing page with a video, what they call a VSL or video sales letter. And then when they do that, this time around they get rewarded with a ton of subscription again, and they keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, and then after a while this thing would not work as well anymore, and so you gotta start evolving. So the question I'd like you to ponder over in today's video really is the following. Two questions basically. Question number one is, under what circumstances do we change our behavior? So how do we know that things are not working, right? How do we know that things are not working? So we have to change our behavior, right? So in the past we used to do this and it gives us this result, but now when we do this, it doesn't give us this result. So what is it that we have to do? When do we know when to change our behaviors? When do we know when to change our actions? That's question number one. Question number two is, how do you know what behaviors to change? And I think this is a big one, because if all we know is, we have been doing this and shall we do more? So for example, we have been doing Facebook ads, landing page, and subscribers. Now it's not working as well. Maybe we need to put in more money into Facebook ads, right? Or we need to make our sales letter a bit longer, for example. Or we need to do, something that is a variation or an incremental improvement of the previous steps. Or do we do something that is radically different? Now, mind you that some people in life, they will go about with a wrong strategy, hoping to achieve an outcome at which they never do. Or they may achieve an outcome and after a while it doesn't work anymore, and they just keep squeezing it out of the same process, and obviously it's not going to work as well. So how do you know what behaviors to change? I think this is a critical one for you to think about. All right, so with that, I'm going to leave you with these two questions. Share with me, what are your thoughts? How do you know when to change, and how do you know what behaviors to change? We'll talk again. Bye-bye.